Today's topic, how to have a long-term successful career in the final expense business. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Adam Bursan. I've been in the final expense business now for almost 20 years. And that time spent in the industry has primarily been with two companies. So, I've always kind of been about simplicity, focusing on one product, focusing on one company, becoming an expert at it. And it got to the point where I wanted to start teaching it to others. So I was on a trip with another company about, I don't know, eight or 9 years ago now. And I remember, for one thing, if you're going to make a company trip, well, that means you're doing something right. That means that you're writing quite a bit of business. You know what you're doing, and you're pretty successful. But I was on this company trip, and I'm talking to these people that are making a whole lot more money than I was. And I'm like, what are they doing? How are they doing so much more than I am? And well, a lot of it had to do with the fact that they were building and growing, and they were forming teams and agencies, things like that. And that's kind of really what got me into my role of what I do now, of recruiting and training, working with agents, working with managers throughout the country, to see to it that everybody can have a long-term successful career in the business. It's a good business. And that's just really what I wanted to go over with you guys today, just how you can have a long-term successful career in the business. I remember I was probably maybe 22 years old. I'd been in the business for about a year or so. At that time, work, final expense, it wasn't like my top priority. I was just too busy doing other things. I was 22 years old, going out too much, things like that. And it got to the point where, and my dad was in the business too. It got to the point where my funds were just really low. I was falling behind on bills. And I remember at that time, I went into my dad's office and I asked him for some money because my phone was about to get turned off. And, that was like my moment where I realized that I just really needed to start buckling down and taking this seriously. And I'm glad that I did, because it's a good business. Had I not maybe hit rock bottom at one point, I don't know what I'd be doing right now. But it worked out. Like I said, I stuck with it, and we're going to go through this because, one thing to keep in mind too, is that the good days are going to make up for the bad. Not every day is going to be a great day out in the field. That was one thing. I was in Salt Lake last week working with some of our new managers. And I mentioned that when I'm out training an agent, sometimes I hope I don't have a very, very good day where I'm writing a whole bunch of business, because sometimes that makes it look a little bit too easy. I've gone out and I've written 6,000 in premium in a day while training an agent, and they just thought that this was just going to be the easiest thing in the world, that they were just going to wake up, everyone's going to want to talk to them, everyone's going to let them in the house, and they're going to make a sale in every house that they walk into. And then sometimes what happens is they realize it isn't that easy. So, but anyways, like I said, let's go through this, and feel free to stop me as I go along if you have any questions. I'd be more than happy to answer those. So, how to have a long-term successful career in the final expense business? Well, first and foremost, make final expense your main focus. And it's okay if you're going to supplement it with other things. I think final expense maybe could lead into other sales for a lot of you that maybe are doing more than just final expense. But, one thing, I think that final expense, it's probably one of the easiest types of insurance to get leads for. And there's other insurance out there that maybe it's more difficult. So if you lead with final expense, yeah, maybe it could lead you to other sales outside of just final expense, but you make it your main focus. Make that your marketing when it comes to ordering leads, and I think you'll be successful. And get rid of the ego and be willing to learn from those that are better than you. That's maybe a hard pill to swallow for a lot of people. I'm I know a lot of sales guys have egos. They think that they got it down. They think they got it figured out. One example would be back in 2020 when we were going through this pandemic, and the state where I'm in Illinois, I mean, pretty much shut down. Like, I couldn't go out and work if I wanted to. I had been doing field sales at the time for 18 years. So I needed to take a step back. I needed to learn telesales. And I could have just jumped right in and been like, oh, well, I'm good in the field. I'm just going to do everything the same way, and I'm sure it'll work. But I knew that I needed to connect with people that were in telesales, that had done it for a long time. And that's what I did. I talked to a lot of my agents that I knew had done telesales in the past, and I learned from them. Maybe I had a bit of an ego out in the field, knowing that I can go out and sell a lot of business, but I didn't know telesales. So I had to maybe get rid of a little bit of an ego. I don't think I have a big ego, but I needed to learn telesales. So sometimes you just need to take a step back and be willing to learn from those that are better than you. I mean, I'm always learning. I mean, I see people out in the industry that are putting up more premium than me. I want to know what they're doing. I want to figure out what I'm missing that they're doing to get better. I don't think we can ever stop learning. And have a business plan. One thing, you don't want to just wake up in the morning and try to figure out what your day is going to look like. Put a plan together. Decide, remember too, that final expense, it's a different market. And the reason I bring that up, I've had agents in the past where they're set in their ways when it comes to the way that they usually set up their schedule for the week. And a lot of Medicare guys. I mean, I know even my dad, he was doing Medicare for a long time. And even when I first got in the business, he was still doing quite a bit with Medicare. And he would have Monday as like his office day, where he would just be on the phone calling his leads all day. And then the rest of the week, he would have his whole schedule planned out for the week. And I've come to realize that in final expense, it's kind of difficult to do that. You really can't. I mean, if you are calling to set up appointments, which I don't really recommend, I prefer taking the leads, going out and seeing the people, putting a route together, going straight to the door, catching them off guard a little bit. If you're calling and setting up appointments on Monday for Tuesday, I guess that's okay. A good amount of them will probably be home. But if you're setting up appointments on Monday for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday as well, I'd say maybe some of your appointments on Wednesday will be there, but a lot of them probably won't be, because they'll probably have forgotten that they had talked to you. Thursday and Friday, there's a good chance none of them are going to be home. So you can't plan ahead too far out. I don't know. I guess it's just a different way of doing things. One thing too, I mean, we're talking about funeral insurance. It's not like the happiest topic. And maybe that's something too, where people, it's just something that they don't really, they put to the side. They put it off. And I just feel like it takes somebody like us sometimes to show up, to say, hey, I'm here. Let's get this done. So that's why I like to do it that way. And be able to adapt and changing your work habits. So that's kind of what I was just talking about. Be able to adapt to changing the way that you do things, as I recommend. Take the leads, go out and see the people, and have a marketing budget and be disciplined with it. I recommend to transfer 20% of every commission deposit that you earn into a separate bank account. Call it your leads account. That way you always have money set aside for more leads, for your own marketing. And, that's one thing. A lot of independent agents out there. I mean, you could go from a captive situation to an independent situation where all of a sudden you have a whole lot more responsibility, and you got to be good at managing your money. And I've seen agents that have gone from more of a captive situation where they get into doing this independently, and they just can't handle the independence. They can't handle it when it comes to no one telling them what time they need to go out and work. They also can't handle it when it comes to managing their money, because they're so used to someone else handling that part of the business for them. So But just be responsible with your money. Set 20% of every commission aside, and you'll always have money set aside for future lead orders. And plan to live on half of what you earn. I say 20% into a leads account. Well, you got to remember we're 1099. I mean, you need to put money aside for taxes as well. That's why I recommend put 20% into a leads account and the other 30% put it in a tax account. And hopefully you're not going to owe 30% when it comes to tax time, but at least you'll have hopefully more than enough money set aside. So then if anything, you'll have a lot sitting there that you can live a little bit more comfortably then. But I mean, it's happened to me. I think my first year here, I had a really good year, made a whole lot more money than what I was anticipating. And it hurt me at tax time because I wasn't putting enough money aside. So yeah, just remember that, not only for leads, but remember this is 1099. We're independent contractors. You got to have that money set aside for leads and for taxes. And order leads every week. You don't want to take weeks off. You got to be consistent with placing those lead orders, and place more than enough. If you're doing direct mail, I would recommend ordering more than what you think that you're going to need. Right now, especially, returns are down. They're not as good as they used to be. You want to make sure that you have enough people to see on a regular basis, and don't be afraid to invest into your business. That's why you're setting that money aside for your leads. That money that's set aside, it's there to use it. So make sure you're using that money and utilizing that to have that steady lead flow on a regular basis. And work geographically smart. If you're placing direct mail lead orders, the great thing about direct mail is that majority of the vendors out there, we can place lead orders by zip code. So, I mean, I can place a lead order in one zip, and now I have 20 people to see that are like 2 minutes apart from one another. So I can get a lot done in my day without driving all over the place trying to catch up with people. One thing though, the next lead order I'm going to do after that first one, it's going to be in the zip code right next to that other zip code that I had just been working, and so on and so on. Be geographically smart, because as the new leads come in, you're still going to have to catch up on your old leads. So by having everything set where everything is very close together, you're just going to get a whole lot more done throughout the day. And with gas prices too, I mean, yeah, we have to drive, but you don't have to drive all over the globe catching up with people if you're planning this out and you're being geographically smart. And have some structure. Know what your day is going to look like. Like I said earlier, don't just wake up and be like, I wonder what I'm going to do today. I think it's a good idea to plan your week out and figure out what days you're going to be in which areas. It'll definitely help. And as I mentioned, I like to just take the leads and just go straight out and see the people. And if you're someone that you just can't get out of the house unless you have an appointment set, well, then get on the phone the night before, set up an appointment for 9 a.m. That'll get you out in the field. From there, I recommend door knocking the leads. And I think a presentation is important. It's good to have that kind of structure. I think it's much better than just winging it. Yeah, and a lot of times, maybe new people, they put together their own thing and they try it and it doesn't work. Well, that's fine. Check out my training website. I have a presentation on there. We've gone through the final expense playbook. If you go to the download section of my website, adambersan.com/training /training, you'll get to the download section and you'll see the final expense playbook. So I definitely recommend you downloading that and learning it. It's going to help you get better. And like I said, I've been doing this for a long time. I've made changes to my presentation. I have adjusted to ways that maybe other people are doing things too that I feel are the best ways to train people. So, the presentation I use now, it's not the same presentation I used 19 years ago. It's been updated through the years to really, we're to the point where, I mean, we have a really, really good presentation. We focus on the need, we focus on affordability, and we add a lot of value. And that's what separates us from other brokers that are out there that Most brokers, all they're doing is going out there and they're talking about face amounts and rates. That's it. And if all you're selling on is face amounts and rates, well, you're just asking for that next person to come in behind you and replace your business. So you want to add value to what you're doing. And that's what we do. Our presentation, it really hits home with a lot of people. And we talk a lot about that need. And we kind of bring people back into that mindset of reminding them of why this is so important. More than likely, they've probably been through something in the past that affected them financially, where they lost a loved one that was not insured. And it made things very difficult. So they know the importance of this. But like I said, we like to bring them back in that mindset. And I think it just sells itself. And know the product, the underwriting, and how to calculate rates. Our product is, it's pretty self-explanatory. It's a 4-page application, front and back health questions. There's a banking page for their account information, and then there's a prescription authorization. That's it. And in the application, there's 3 sections. First section, all you got to do is read the app. Section 1, if anything's answered yes, it's a decline. Section 2, if that's answered yes, then it would be a standard plan. And Section 3, if anything's answered yes in Section 3, then the plan is going to be modified. So as long as you read through the application and know the underwriting, same thing. I mean, you can download the underwriting guide either in the agent portal or on my website. But yeah, know the underwriting and know how to calculate premiums. Right in the agent portal, when you log in, right on the home screen, there is a rate calculator. All you have to do is click that rate calculator and you can calculate the premiums. Like I said, a lot of this is just self-explanatory as long as you know how to get to certain things. And if you have any other questions when it comes to those things, feel free to reach out to me. Get used to getting rejected. That's just part of the business. You're going to get rejected more than you're going to get accepted. And you just got to be able to brush it off. Like I said earlier, the good days make up for the bad. I've had days where I've gone out and worked 30 leads, and the whole day I either was not catching people at home or I was getting door slammed in my face. But I stuck with it. I mean, I'm going to stay out as late as I can until I either write an app or I run out of time. And if I run out of time, well, you know what? I'll just go back the next day and do it again. And sooner or later, it's just all going to work itself out. Like I said, I mean, after 19 years, if it didn't work, I would have found something else to do by now. So, but get used to getting rejected. And when you get rejected, it's not a bad idea to go back to the car and kind of play it back and try to think of different ways that maybe next time you won't get rejected. And sometimes people are just mean and you're not going to get anywhere with them. But sometimes I think that maybe you talk yourself out of getting in the house when you go up to the door, or just not really know exactly what to say. So, and again, all these things are in the final expense playbook that's on my website that will teach you how to get in more doors and see more people and make more sales. And ask questions. Listening sells. If you are presenting and you don't give your prospect a chance to talk, you're going to put them to sleep. And you're going to sound like the last 10 people that have been in their house. Get them involved. Ask questions. The first thing I ask when we sit down, Mrs. Jones, by sending this card back into us, have you experienced a funeral lately? Let's hear what she has to say. Maybe she'd experienced a funeral and it was difficult. And then from there, I can ask more questions. I'm so sorry to hear that. Was there insurance involved? Did the family have to pitch in? Well, I'm sure that got you thinking about this. So ask questions, listening sells. And they start talking and they sell it to themselves. Focus on the need, focus on affordability. Those are the 2 most important things. We're dealing with people that are on a fixed income. Majority of them are living on Social Security, and that's it. They get their deposit once a month. And I mean, these days, that money is not going far at all with these gas prices and food prices. Inflation's just through the roof. So we got to make sure that we put a plan together that's affordable, and we got to focus on the need. So those are the 2 things. I mean, the need, I think if they want to be buried, they need at least a $10,000 policy these days. And as time goes on, the cost of funerals, like everything else, is going to continue to go up. but I'm just going to put them in a plan that I know that they can afford today. I can always add more coverage later. So you don't want to put them in a plan, a $20,000 policy that's $150 a month when they can only handle $70 a month. You're doing a disservice to yourself and your client. So focus on the need, focus on affordability, and you can always go back later and write more business. And don't sell based on how much commission you want to make. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous to even have to mention that, but I've been in homes where I see agents calculating their commissions while they're putting rates together. Like, give me a break. Do what's best for the client. And like I said, focusing on the need, focusing on affordability. Don't worry about what you're getting out of it. As long as you are consistent and you go out and see people on a regular basis and you do the right thing for them, you're gonna be repaid more times than not. And that kind of leads into what we're talking about here. Just always do what's in the best interest of the client. You know, another thing, being out in the field, it's sickening how many homes I go into where I ask to see the person's policy that they already have after they've already told me about their health. And I look at a policy that they have, and all of these policies have a copy of the applications in the back of them. And I'll go through these applications. It's just amazing how many agents clean sheet these applications, meaning that they just answer everything no, regardless of how that person's health is. What happens if that person doesn't live 2 years and they have to contest that policy? There's a real good chance that the company's not going to pay the claim and they're going to rescind that policy like it never even existed. So always do what's in the best interest of the client and do right for the client. If they have congestive heart failure, mark that on the application. Any health conditions, you don't want to miss anything. You want to make sure that you're writing the applications and everything is accurate, or at least as accurate as you feel, to the best of your knowledge and to the best of your client's knowledge and beliefs. So and like I said, and maybe their health isn't great. Maybe it's a modified policy and the rates are high. Well, something's better than nothing. Write them a policy for less coverage. And as time goes on, same thing. You can always increase it. And assume the sale. This is something I always walk in with the assumption that we are there to do business. I'm not asking them for the sale. I'm assuming the sale. And as I go through the presentation, I am starting to fill out the application. When I'm asking them the health questions, I'm checking the boxes on the paper application. When they're telling me their medications, I'm writing them down on the app. So again, these are just little tips and tricks, and then I think it kind of makes the client sometimes feel more comfortable that you're just kind of going through it with them. And if they ask, sometimes I'll just say, well, you know what, this is just what I use for my reference to put together a proper quote, but it works. Assume the sale. Don't ask for the sale, assume it. And obtain referrals. If you're not asking for referrals, and I mean, I've been guilty of this in the past, and I know so many agents who just never ask for referrals. Why don't you want to ask for referrals? Referrals are free leads. Referrals to me are easier sales than a new lead. They already have a connection to the person that you've spoken with. They already have trust in that person that you've spoken with. And that person that you just wrote a policy on has trust in you. So, and one thing too, when you ask for referrals, the best thing you can do, especially if the referral is local to the person that you're visiting with, tell them that you got time right now to go see them. I have a few minutes right now. Why don't you give them a call? Have your client call the referral, because there's a better chance. I mean, people screen their calls. There's a much better chance that person's going to answer their phone to your client than they will to you. So get your client to get on the phone and start calling those referrals, and at least introducing you to them. Even if they hand the phone over to you, that's good. And at that point, you could give that person your phone number and tell them to store it in their phone. So then they have it. So then when you call, there's a better chance that they will actually answer if you're not able to set up that appointment right then and there. Stop avoiding your fears. Door knocking, presentations. I've had agents who have plenty of leads to work, but they are just scared to death to go up and knock on somebody's door. And you got to figure out ways to overcome those fears. And to me, the only way to overcome it is just to go out and do it. You go out and do it. You go out and see the people. And yes, you know what? You will get door slammed in your face. It's going to happen. But you know what else is going to happen is that you're going to have people that say, oh yeah, I remember filling that out. Come on in. And you're going to sit down and you're going to go through a presentation and you're going to write business. And I had a guy once that he was scared to go out because he didn't have his presentation ready yet. And I told him, I said, you think your prospects know your presentation? How are you going to learn it? How are you going to learn it if you don't just go out and do it? So door knocking, presentations, those are two things. I think you just got to overcome those fears, not be afraid to just go up to people's houses, knock on the door and do what you can to get in the house to do the presentation. Work at least 40 hours a week. And I say at least because this is not a 9-to-5 job. If you want to be, and again, we're talking about a long-term successful career. If you want to have a long-term successful career in the business, you got to work more than 40 hours a week. You got to do whatever you can to get a hold of that person. They might not be home during the day, mornings, afternoons. They could be at work. I mean, we have leads of people that are in their 50s that still have full-time jobs. The only time you're going to be able to catch those people is after 5 o'clock at night or on weekends. So be sure to set your schedule. I mentioned this in my training last week. I mean, I would rather stay out after 5 o'clock at night. I mean, right now, heck, in the middle of summer, it stays late out by me now till almost 9 o'clock at night. So that gives me a lot more time to catch up with those people that are working during the day. But if I went home at 5 o'clock, realistically, I'm going to sit in traffic for 2 hours because that's when everybody's going home. I could stay out and work and catch up with people that are working during the day. And I'm probably going to get home at the same time, maybe a little bit later, but not much later. But by staying out, I also had more opportunities to make sales and make more money. And if you can't catch them during the week, even in the evening, well, sorry, you're going to have to work on Saturday. It's just part of it. And I know we're going to be talking a little bit here about setting goals in a few minutes, but I mean, that's something too. I mean, I set goals, and if I don't hit that goal by Friday, you know, I'm going to be out there Saturday working. But like I said, we're talking about how you can have a long-term successful career. Have more reasons why you should be working and less excuses why you can't be working. And I mean, I've heard every excuse in the book. I had a guy tell me that he couldn't work because his windshield wipers were broken and it was raining out. Well, go to the store and buy some new windshield wipers. I've had people that it's too cold out. I don't have a car that is dependable. And, well, is your car dependable enough to drive over to the car rental place where you could spend $50 to rent a more dependable car for the day? I've done it. I mean, I had a car that I put over 200,000 miles on where I had that car in the shop like once a month back in the day. Well, I could have just sat around at home and did nothing while my car was getting fixed, but no, I went and rented a car. And then at least I gave myself opportunities to make sales. So, and if it's too cold out, put a warmer jacket on. If it's snowing out, well, rent an SUV if you have to. Wear boots. I mean, like I said, I mean, there's come up with more reasons why you need to be working and less excuses why you can't be. And keep up with your business. I mean, that's important too. It's one thing to write a lot of new business, but you got to keep up with your business. This is a business where you can earn some very good residual income. you're not going to earn very good residuals if you don't keep up with your business. So if you see a policy that's running behind, get on the phone, call the client, get that policy set up to redraft, and your client is going to appreciate it. And a lot of times, in my experience, I've had clients that I call that are like, wow, thank you so much for calling. I didn't even realize I was behind on my payment. And the last thing you want is that policy to lapse. What if their health had changed? Their health had changed, and now they're going to have to take out a new policy. All of a sudden, maybe now they're going to have to wait 2 years to be covered, or maybe they won't even qualify. Keep up with that business. You're doing, again, you're looking out for the best interest of your client by keeping up with your business and keeping their business on the books for them. And it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. Like I said, I mean, I've gone out with brand new agents and had really good days of training, and then they'll go out the next day and just fall flat on their face. I had one guy where he quit one day in. He's like, man, this is just too hard. This isn't for me. Well, I mean, if he would have stuck with it, maybe he could end up doing pretty well. But it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. You can't judge it based on one day. You got to get out there and stick with it. It's, 26.2 miles, not 1 mile. Don't fear failure. And that's another thing, kind of goes back to number 14 with stop avoiding your fears. I think sometimes people fear failing, and they buy leads and they're afraid that they're not ready. That, man, I spent $35 a lead or $40 a lead, and I got to make sure I have everything down better before I go out and see the people, because that's a big investment. Well, yeah, it's important to prepare and go over your stuff, but at the end of the day, you got to get out there and see the people, and know that you're going to make sales on those leads. These lead vendors, they the lead companies that, especially like direct mail, they make majority of their money on agents who are repetitive buyers, people that are consistently ordering leads every week. And the lead vendor, they would not be in business if people were ordering leads one time and never ordering them again. Okay, people are buying leads. They know they're going to be making sales on them. So just keep that in mind, that people aren't going to consistently order leads if they're not making sales. And the lead vendors, they're going to do what they can to supply you with those leads. But when you get them, you can't fear that failure. You just got to get out there and do it. Love what you do. I mean, if you don't love what you do, why do it? I mean, I love this business. I love what I do on a regular basis. To me, it's not a job. It's a career, but to me, it's just part of my life. I enjoy going out and seeing people and helping people. And I enjoy kind of what I'm doing now with helping not only agents, but helping managers to develop into very, very good managers that will have a long-term career in the business as well. So, but you got to love what you do and just get out. Like I said, I mean, I think I've said this probably 20 times so far, but you just got to get out and do it. And you know what? I kind of think too, that from doing this, you kind of see the importance of this to the client. Like, we're talking about people that are just living on Social Security. They don't have a lot of money to work with. And to us, maybe $10,000 isn't like a ton of money. But to our clients, that's going to be a very big help. And I mean, I've had clients where I leave their house and they're just giving me hugs, and they're just so happy that I came by, and I relieved a big burden off of their shoulders. And I feel really good doing that. So, and the more I did that, the more I became just very passionate about what I do on a regular basis, because it really does affect a lot of people's lives. Work ethic is key. Okay. Work ethic. And I've said this many times too. I can teach you a lot, from my experience in this business. I can teach you presentation. We can go out and we can run leads. And you could come on my trainings every single week and watch and learn. But if you can't get your butt out of bed and go out and do it, why waste your time even coming on the trainings? I mean, work ethic is key. If you can't get out of bed in the morning and go to work, why waste your time doing everything else? And I think that work ethic is probably the most important part of the whole thing. I think someone that's out there working hard will beat anybody. Maybe there's people that are smarter, but if those smart people aren't working as hard as that person that is dedicated and they're out there every single day doing it one day after the next, knocking on door after door after door, that person's going to be more successful because they're putting the time in. So, like I said, I mean, why waste your time if you're not going to go out and do it? And set goals. I think, to me, I always set, I mean, I know in the back of my mind how much money I want to make for the year, but majority of my goals are set more by production, because I know if I can hit those production goals, I'm going to hit those financial goals. So I think an annual goal of how much business, how much premium you want to do for the year, it's good. And then you can break that number down. So, if you want to do just an easy number, let's say you want to do 240,000 in premium for the year. Well, that would mean you have to do what, 20,000 a month in premium. So if that's your goal, well, then that's easy to break down into monthly. And then you'd break that down into weekly. Okay, that means I have to do 5,000 a week in premium. That means I got to do $1,000 a day. And I break it down, those numbers, I'll break down even further. To me, if you just think about annualized premium, sometimes it's difficult to just focus on AP. I like to break that annualized number down into like a monthly premium. And what I mean by that, like, let's say I want to do 3,000 in premium for the week. Well, 3,000 in premium for the week is $250 of monthly premium. That means I have to write one $50 a month app Monday through Friday. And to me, that makes it, in my mind, easier to hit than just focusing on 3,000 in premium. Break it down into smaller numbers. And I'll actually write on the notepad on my phone at the beginning of the week. Let's say I want to do now, well, I'm not out in the field nearly as much as I used to be, but when I was like full-time out in the field, when I was really, really putting up big premium, on my notepad, I would do 0 out of $500. And my goal for the week would be to write $500 of monthly premium. So every time I wrote an app, I would add it to that side on the left. If I wrote an app for $50 a month, now I am at $50 of my $500 goal. So that would be my goal for the week. And I would set that, and my goal would be to hit it by the end of the day on Friday. And if I didn't hit it by Friday, well, I was out Saturday working. But if I hit that goal by Friday, unless I had somebody I had to see on Saturday, I mean, if I hit that goal by Friday, I would reward myself and take off on Saturday. So that's how I did it. I broke it down into smaller numbers. And even if I didn't hit that goal for the week, if you're setting goals that are a little bit high and you come a little bit short, well, I would rather shoot for the gold and hit the bronze than shoot for the bronze and get the bronze, if that makes sense to you. Shoot for high goals. If you don't reach them, you're still going to come out further than if you set a goal that was too easy to achieve. And do that little extra. That little extra, what we talk about in the final expense playbook is the avenues of opportunity. So many different ways to write business once you're out in the field. So do that little extra, not just working the leads, but once you're out in the field, do that little extra. Knock on doors around the house, talk to people in the neighborhood, cold door knock if you have to, set up things at events at senior complexes. You can do bingo night at senior complexes. Make it fun. Just little things like that. Just by doing that little extra, you're going to greatly increase your income for the year as well. And it's going to make up for all those leads of the people that didn't give you the time of day. So again, get on my website, check out the training, download that playbook if you've yet to do so. And it's going to greatly increase your income for the second half of this year. And don't miss out on the growth potential. Like I mentioned, I've been doing this for 19 years. I was not focused on building and growing until about maybe 9 years ago. So my first 10 years in the business were strictly focused on personal production. And I did really well. And if you love personally producing and you don't want to take time away from that, that's fine. I mean, I've seen agents that are personal producers that earn very good money. So, but if you want to take it a step further and you feel like maybe you could take a step back from your personal production to focus on recruiting and bringing agents on and building a team, well, then you're going to multiply your income, because every time those agents write business, you're going to get paid again as well. But I think the best way to do that, don't just completely get out of the field. Well, when you're training people, you have to personally produce, right? So that's the great thing about it. You're not really taking a whole lot away from your personal production because you're taking agents out and you're working with them anyways. But yeah, that's where you can really take your career to the next level, is by getting to the point where you're good enough. And that's the thing too. Don't do this when you're brand new. You got to learn the business. I tell my managers, I tell them, look, you want your agents contacting you. You don't want them calling me all the time. So you need to have this down. You don't, if every time your agent calls you and they have a question and your response is, well, you know what, let me call Adam because I'm not quite sure. What do you think that does to your credibility? What do you think your agent's going to start doing? They're just going to start calling me all the time. So then why are you here? So you got to learn the business. You got to learn the business. You got to learn the product. You got to know how to sell it. Once you have that down, why not help others get good? And at that point, I mean, my goal has always been to become a manager of managers. And that's kind of where I'm at now. I mean, my main focus now is working with our managers and helping them build and grow. So I think that should be the ultimate goal. You find somebody that is a good, and you can groom them into being a good agent. But I think you want to try to find, of your agents, you want to find those that kind of stand out a little bit and see what you can do to talk them into maybe getting to the point where they want to build a team and build and grow. And I mean, I have seen people in this business that are making more money than some professional athletes. That's really where you can go with this if you put the time in. And then the last one here, I would just say, keep it simple. That's sometimes I think people overcomplicate things. You don't have to. Keep it simple. My simplicity, my focus on simplicity has always been one product and one company. And that's about it. And I'm getting good at it and teaching it to others. And I just know it can be very difficult to learn underwriting for 30 different companies. So find one that you like, that you feel is easy to do business with, and just keep it simple. And most brokers, they might have 30 contracts. They have their go-to carrier. They know which company that they want to utilize that is easy to do business with, where they don't have to worry about a lot of business, getting pushed to modified or declined, or not only that, they know that there's companies where it's easy to get a hold of people, because that's important too. When you have a question that you need answered, you want to be able to call a company that is going to be able to answer your questions when you need an answer. I mean, you could lose credibility in a home when your client has a question and you're not quite sure and you can't get a hold of anybody. So, that's another thing, a carrier that has very good home office support, I think, is important. So that's about all I have today. Thanks again. Like I said, check out my training website, adambersan.com/training, and a lot of good materials on there. Also, you can check out my YouTube channel, youtube.com/, C/Adam Bersan and subscribe. This presentation I will be putting on there more than likely at some point later today. So feel free to go back and watch it. And thanks again. If any of you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Like I said, my best availability today would be after 3 p.m. Central. I have meetings before that, but I'm here if you need me. So thanks again. I hope you have a great week, and let's finish the month off strong. And then we can celebrate by having a nice, fun 4th of July weekend. So, and with that said, I think next Monday is actually the 4th, isn't it? So yeah, we will not be on next Monday on the 4th, but we'll be on the following week on the 11th. So thanks again, and feel free to reach out to me if you need anything.